Ryan Mendez from Yellowcard. You're watching Infectious magazine.
How are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Good. How's the tour going so far?
It's awesome. It's still kind of young. We didn't start too long ago. We've got quite a ways to go. It's been really good so far.
This is your 6th year playing, right?
Yeah, sounds about right. I lose track. It's been so many times, yeah.
Is there anything that you prepared for this year that you felt totally unprepared for the first year?
No, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, the first time or 2 or 3 you do it, you know, it's just a learning experience also, and for me also, the way myself and my old band, and even I know these guys, like, when they first did it, you know, just driving yourself in vans, like, the first time I did the tour, I did it in a Chevy Suburban with 7 people, running a stage, setting it up, running it all day, tearing it down, driving, like, just, that was just death, you know, and so the way to be doing it, like, main stage bus now is just, like, so refreshing and awesome, and I can still, like, you know, recognize and appreciate how it is now, and it's really, like, we have it the easiest of anyone. Like, I totally recognize, like, our crew works so much harder than we do. We play for 35 minutes and we do a signing and maybe talk to you and we're good. So we're pretty lucky.
Definitely paid your dues, though. I mean,
I feel like that's true, but I think some people maybe lose sight of it, and I think we definitely appreciate where we are, and we recognize that, like, we're very lucky to be in the position we are.
absolutely. You have to stick with it.
We try.
Now, you've mentioned that the biggest change in Warped Tour over the years has been the style of music. What direction do you think it's headed, and what do you think Warped Tour in 5 years might look like?
It's a good question. The last few years, I think that a lot of heavier music has kind of come to the forefront. A lot of double bass and screaming and bass drops and stuff like that. It's cool. I like some of that stuff. It's definitely different than when, the first Warped I went to was 98, and it was like Deftones and Strung Out and NoFX and Lagwagon and those types of bands. So a lot different. But I still think there's something for everybody at the tour. I think we're stoked to still be doing it. Obviously, like, we don't have double bass and screaming, but, like, we still have, you know, decent crowd watching. And in terms of the future, I honestly don't know. I don't know where the music industry is going to be in 5 years. I wish I knew that. So it's really tough to tell.
Yeah, I've noticed, like, the last few years there's been a lot of PDM and, like, just DJ sets and stuff, which is very new. That's something I would have never guessed that when I first started going to work or ever. I'd never would have seen that. You have Nate Young of Amberlin playing on drums.
Yep.
How did that come to be?
We have been friends with Amberlin and Nate for a very long time. I've always loved their band. We've all always loved their band. We did a tour with them. When did we first tour with them? 2005, I want to say. And we've just remained really good friends with them ever since. We've all always really respected and loved Nate's playing. Just his whole vibe, his style. Like, we always loved him. When it came to be decided that LP was not going to be the band anymore, when he was going to be leaving off to go do other things, we decided to call Nate and say, hey, do you want to play on a record? And luckily for us, he said yes, which was awesome for us because, like I said, we've been friends with him for a long time. And while we were in the studio, we said, hey, you know, Amberlin's on Warped Tour. We're doing Warped Tour. You feel like doing double duty? And he's like, yeah, totally. Because the sets are only 35 minutes, so it's not that bad. On a hot day, maybe he's a little tired, but it's still less than like a full headlining set. And we love him, and we have such a good relationship with him, and he's an incredible drummer, so it worked out really well for us.
Yeah, Amberlin was like a huge inspiration to push behind starting my music site and then eventually like my PR company. So when I read that, I was like, oh, that's really awesome.
We love them, we love him. Like, only the best words for those guys. Like, they're like some of our best friends, and I love their band. So their new record is amazing. They played it for us the other day. It's awesome.
That's just a tease, man.
You gotta get excited for it, right?
I am really excited.
Yeah, it's a little different. Yeah. It's different, but it's awesome.
Yeah, I've never been disappointed, so
it's not disappointing. It's awesome.
Yeah. So Warped started in Alaska this year, and it's the first time that they were there. And you played that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how was it playing to a crowd that's experiencing Warped for the first time?
It was interesting. That show was really interesting. It was. There were really short times in between sets, so it was like kind of hectic getting set up and stuff. But the crowd was cool. You could tell that they were like, they had never really experienced something like that before. So the show was fun, and we've never been to Alaska, so it's awesome to like check that one off. You know, that was my 49th out of 50 states, so I'm stoked. I still only have Maine to go to.
Maine, of all places.
Yeah, I know. It's a little far away, and you don't really go through there very often. So I need to check that one off. But it was cool. My cousin is stationed in the military there, so I got to hang out with him, and it's beautiful there. It was a cool experience.
Yeah, I would have loved to have been there just to like see that experience, like in their eyes. Because it's like when the first time I went to work for, I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing,
it was really cool. The crowd was good, and it doesn't get dark. It's just light right now. Like at 2 in the morning, it gets kind of dusk sort of, but at midnight it's just the sun in the sky.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
You've talked about the break between Paper Walls and When You're Through Thinking Say Yes, and how that break kind of evoked a hunger to do more. Do you think sometimes a band's schedule can get so packed that creativity kind of gets stifled?
Absolutely.
Do you think it's important to kind of like take those breathers?
Yeah, and I think honestly, when we took that break, it wasn't really like to like take a breather. Like I think that everyone thought it was done. We didn't know, but it felt that way. And then after a couple years, like okay, let's try this again. But like yeah, I mean, you can work to a point where you start to lose hunger for it because you're just overworked. I mean, that can be the case with any profession, with anything. So actually, after 2011, our first year like back, we went to like 40 countries. We toured for 10 months. At the end of that year, we were just dead. And like we knew that coming off of a break, we kind of had to take every opportunity we had and really just I mean, you've been out of the spotlight for a little while. You got to like really work your ass off to get back into it. So we knew we had to do that. But we were really tired at the end of that year, and we've been going pretty nonstop ever since then. So sometimes you feel a little bit, but then when you go out and play a show like this today, where like the sound booth is engulfed by people and you can't see the end of it, it's like wow, this is pretty rewarding.
Yeah, it's pretty worth it. I read an article which talked about Yellowcard bringing back high school memories in nostalgia, which is definitely a case for I think my generation. What song or movie or some piece of art would bring back that same feeling of high school nostalgia for you?
High school nostalgia. Oh man, song stuff. Like I was in high school in the '90s, so I always loved like just the classic '90s rock stuff, like Soundgarden and Filter and Nirvana and Smashing Pumpkins, that kind of stuff. So any music in that kind of realm, like like earlier on MTV kind of grunge era. For all I know, that's the case for all of us. So really kind of bring that vibe back. The movie Dumb and Dumber really brings me back to my like really. I just thought that might have been before I was in high school. It might have been the year before, but that always makes me think of that time in my life for sure.
What has been your proudest moment as a musician so far?
Jeez. That's a good question. Honestly, I really don't know. I will say that I do some, outside of the band, I do some producing and mixing, and we, long story short, we grew up listening to like Fat Records, Epitaph Records, No Effects, throwing out No Use for Name, those types of bands, and this band called No Use for Name, which was on Fat Records, their singer, Tony Sly, passed away a couple of years ago. We were on Warped Tour 2012. I remember we were in Milwaukee, we found out that morning. We covered one of his songs that day in memory of him, and we had Alex, the singer of All Time Low, play guitar for us. And the entire Warped staff was there, all the production people, everyone, because they were all really close to him, and like all the bands in that kind of scene are really tight with all the Warped, behind the scenes people. So we played this song, and this is like the song of a band that we all grew up like loving and listening to, and then like all the like full-on staff at Warped Tour was like just surrounding the stage, and like people were just bawling, and it was like it was an amazing moment. I mean, obviously like everyone is so devastated that he's gone, but like it was an incredible moment that like we were able to like do this, and kind of like I think we did the song justice, and all the Warped staff were like they're just like hugging us, and like I don't know, there was something really cool about that because of how influential his band and all those bands in that scene were to us when we were starting out, like when we were teenagers, like learning how to play like No Use for Name and No Effects songs. So to then be on the main stage like covering one of his songs and all the Warped people are there, like it was pretty cool.
That was amazing. Now, just what's up next for you guys?
Finished Warped Tour. We're taking a little bit of time off because Sean is having a baby, and then we have a new record coming out in the fall, and we are just full steam ahead at that point.
And is there anything else you'd like to add?
Come out to a show, pick up a new record, fall-ish. Don't have an exact date yet, but it's different. I'm interested to see what people think about it, but we're all really